Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of Battle Academy Podcast. My name is Monica. You may know me in-game as Anthissa or on social media as Anthissa21. This episode is going to be kind of weird because I messed up last week and did not get information out. I hope you can forgive me for that. This episode is going to cover a lot of different things, and I'm basically doing what I would call a double episode. So, more bang for your buck. This is going to cover a lot of cool things. I've got your breakdown on the Silph Arena Commander Cup as well as Silph Factions, a little update on the Indigo League, and I'm going to start this episode with my really, really awesome interview that I actually got to do with Antimatter Gaming. Now, I will say that parts of this episode were filmed before I got the interview done, so you're essentially going to hear me make comments about the interview coming up, with beyond the fact that it has actually happened. So, please forgive me. I'm going to try and edit the best that I can to make this look to sound as seamless as I can. But, yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy this episode. The first thing we're going to start with is, of course, my really super awesome, totally cool interview that I actually got to do. So, just sit back or pay attention to the road or whatever, and I hope you enjoy this little conversation I got to have with Dragonite, Horror, and Broken Arrow of Antimatter Gaming, and getting some information on their PokemonGO PvP tournaments and what's coming up in the future down the pipeline with them. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking this opportunity to talk with me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
I've basically been trying to look into battling outside of Silph Arena because that's the one everybody knows. So, finding out about other things, I believe last week I did some on the Indigo League, which is being run by Team Rocket Academy. And then I found yours in digging in all of this, so I got kind of interested in it. So, let's start by, why did you guys decide to get into doing PokemonGO PvP? And introduce yourself, too, while you're at it.
Jake, do you want me to swing, or do you want to go ahead with that one?
Yeah, you can swing.
Okay, so I'm Dragonite. I go by Grayson Mayo, and I come from kind of a lot of esports as a whole. So we come from Halo, Rogue Company, Gears. I competed in Halo for a lot. I ended up working for the developers for a period of time. I was a lead tournament operator for a roving theme park called Outpost Discovery. So kind of the PvP stuff in any title is in my blood, but obviously with my handle still being Dragonite for the better part of 25 years, I have a little bit of nostalgic love for the Pokemon franchise, and I competed in that, actually, all the way up through 2017. I competed in the VGC, I competed in the TCG as well. I kind of can't budget my time appropriately, so if there is a tournament to be played, I will play in it, which is... So I find myself competing in 80 titles, but the nostalgia factor is really what got me on a personal level. And then on a business perspective, PokemonGO is the #1 downloaded app on both platforms, on both Android and iOS, right? And it is also the most underserved platform given how many people have the app. It absolutely blew us away when we did our research that no one was offering, that Niantic wasn't offering paid tournament support, because we come from that world, and we kind of thought, why not be the change we want to see? It's a great business opportunity, and it's also something that we believe in.
Okay, I get that, especially from the nostalgia point, and that this is something you guys are comfortable with, and why not? I think Niantic is still trying to work out some of the PvP bugs and trying to figure it out. I know there are still a number of people complaining about lag. Other than that, with moving into the esports arena, what other challenges are there for this format, do you think?
I think there's probably a couple. I think Steve could probably speak to the development side and the infrastructure, and I think Jake could probably speak on the player retention and the engagement side. Jake, why don't you take it and pass it to Steve?
Yeah, I could probably dive into a little bit of both, because I've kind of been working with Steve, not so much on development, but advising on the development. So from an infrastructure point, Pokemon Go does require quite a bit more infrastructure than other titles. Whereas, we could jump in Halo, just host a bracket, go. Rogue Company, same thing. You could just jump in, host a bracket, and go. With Pokemon Go, there's a lot more information that needs to be collected and things that need to be sorted through. It's our understanding that a lot of other tournament operators run Swiss brackets for gameplay. What we've tried to introduce, and I'm hoping we can continue to execute well on it, is a multi-stage format where it's got the round robin, so you're still getting like the best of Swiss, and then it goes into bracket play, where it's like one-on-ones up until
not competitive.
Yeah, it's not competitive. It's easy to follow on stream, and it's a lot more digestible as a product.
Okay, so you're getting more towards the single elimination style.
Yeah. While still trying to provide enough people enough time that they felt like it was worth it to play.
Yeah, not a one-off.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so that's what you did with the Kanto Cup that you guys just hosted.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about that. The Kanto Cup, like the restrictions that you set for eligibility and the Pokemon that people were allowed to use.
So you guys, that was mainly you guys. So I'll let you guys take that.
You want to swing on that one, Jake?
Yeah, sure. So we did jump in with the Kanto Cup because it was probably the easiest jumping off point, because everybody's familiar with the first 151 Pokemon.
My namesake.
It's a pretty balanced meta, and it just seemed like the right time to pull the trigger. With that being said, with the restrictions of running on Facebook, we were limited to US only, so it was limited to just United States based players. But in terms of actual gameplay, it ran in the Great League, and it was a pretty competitive format. Yeah. We ran into some problems, and we've learned from those problems on the multi-stage.
Very much so.
Because we kept it capped at 16 pools, despite players falling off the day of and not showing up, which resulted in some unbalanced pools where it was like 3 people.
Some
you lose
people,
2 matches and you're out.
Yeah. You lose 1 match and you're out.
Yeah. That's right.
So
we took top from each, so it was you lose 1 match, you're out.
Yeah, we saw some top players like Panic and
whatnot
getting eliminated pretty early on because of that.
Oh, so wow.
Going forward, we actually broke it down so that it's
based on
number of pools is based on population. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be a little bit easier to set up a more balanced pool moving forward.
Yeah, so again, to go back to that previous thing where it doesn't feel like anyone, showed up and then got screwed over by the bracket, right? I mean, like, inevitably that's going to happen at some point, right? You get put in the same bracket as somebody else who's a top-tier player and you don't win out your bracket.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck. It's unfortunate, but it is what it
happens.
is. In the previous instance, it wasn't necessarily because the best person won. It just happened to be they lost 1 game against somebody who was slightly better, but they probably should have, normally would have taken the bracket if there were more people, and as such, couldn't advance. And it was an error on our fault, and we've since corrected it. So.
Okay.
We've got the numbers for that as well, too. It's just, it's very numeric. It's a lot of spaghetti numbers. Yeah. So we are going to have that posted on the Nexus site. But I will not, I guess, okay, well, see, Webmaster at hand. Webmaster already has it. Excuse me, but it's a little too number wordy. But as Jake said, the amount of players enrolled are going to dictate how many pools we have.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And we were talking about this when I was messaging with Horror a few minutes ago. You guys made an announcement for the next cup, the Johto Cup. Can you tell me a little bit about what can be expected from that, play-wise?
Yeah, so the Johto Cup is going to be the secondary region, of course. I mean, if you follow through the Pokemon titles, we went from Region 1 to Region 2 in order of release by Nintendo. Johto, we think, was also a nice jumping off point. We think we provided ourselves a really easy platform with Kanto. Like Jake had said, there's the nostalgia factor, there's a limited kind of balanced meta, and Johto is another kind of small pool of Pokemon that doesn't require a bunch of external knowledge. So we're really concerned, especially coming off of the Kanto Cup, with making sure our infrastructure is correct, because the pool play was tough, some of the enrollment for players was tough, there's a lot of learning opportunities, and we don't want to convolute that going into, for instance, Hoenn into Region 3, where you've got 14 Mega Pokemon and all of them have these wild dual typings and some of these Community Day moves are crazy. It opens up kind of the Pokemon Pandora's box, if you will. And we're trying to make sure we've had 2 relatively successful events before we pivot into something kind of crazy and big like that. A lot of questions we got do apply both to the Kanto and the Johto Cup. Megas are going to be restricted, and this will be in the Great League, and this will stay as the Pick 6 Use 3 format.
Okay. And Silph runs that format as well. I think pretty much everybody does. Because building a team of 6 gives you more options.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Allows you to play the meta game and stuff like that, where you can be like, oh, I have this awesome Pokemon, but you never actually use it, because why not?
Right.
Yes, sometimes it's nice to have the spicy pick every so often, but sometimes you just put it there and it just never sees the light of day. So, after Johto Cup, are you wanting to keep moving forward with the Nexus League and build that into something permanent?
Yeah.
All right, PR, Jake, you go.
Yeah, so we do have plans for one more, at least after the Johto Cup.
Emphasis on at least.
Yeah, at least one more. So we are currently pending negotiations with a sponsor to secure more dates and more funding for more dates. So we're going to have to see how the next 2 go, but currently we're greenlit for one this month and one next month.
Yes.
Okay, so that's looking pretty good to get the next 2 going as well. Another thing that we're seeing a lot of in the PvP sphere for PokemonGO is that there's more of these team build competitions that are going around where 5 players get together and form a team. Silph is doing their factions, which is 7 players. Do you think that everything's kind of heading in a team direction, or do you still prefer the individual play?
I think it could be heading in that direction. For instance, with Antimatter, we've got 2 streamers on board that both compete. So Go Trainer 4U and NCK228 both play under the Antimatter banner, and they've actually expressed some interest in doing both the 5 and the 7-man rosters as well. I think just to make sure our quality of work is at the peak that we can, we want to restrict to just a single player, at least in our events, rather than having that team building format, just while we make sure we get all the kinks out. I know our team, we actually have talked about it and we're open to it. We just, to give the best product, we're kind of okay being the previous, I'm going to make a joke here, but like, I'm okay being an iPhone 12, even though the 13's out, because the 12 is still a great product, right?
Yeah, it still works, right?
Sometimes the 13's a little more buggy than the 12, and I'd rather be the 12 in that circumstance.
Yeah.
And so we got to get the stuff ironed out.
Especially while we're still ironing out our stuff, or rather iron out our stuff instead of try something new that isn't. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, and that's perfectly cool too. You make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row before you take on the bigger thing. Perfectly makes sense. Do you see Pokemon Go PvP becoming an eventually legit esport? I mean, that's one topic that a lot of people are on the fence about, given certain lag issues and everything they're still investigating. Play-wise.
Given this.
Steve, do you want to, Jake? Do you want to, I think Steve gets a little second here, right?
Whichever.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think it can. I think it has the community behind it, and the thing that Pogo has that a lot of other esports titles doesn't is it has such a low barrier to entry to be able to get into it, where anybody who's 20, 30 years old, even younger, knows what Pokemon is. They know what I mean. Hell, PokemonGO literally is the thing that stopped all wars, all fighting, all everything. It was a calm time when it came out.
Oh, the closest the closest moment to world peace.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, the thing that it has going for it is it's got everybody behind it, right? It's got the casual players, it's got the high competitive players, the PvP stuff. It has everyone knows it. So if you walk into a place and you're like, oh, hey, we're doing a Pogo event, everyone's like, Pogo? And you're like, no, it's a Pokemon event. Or they're like, Pokemon, yeah, let's get on board with that. So it's kind of easy with that. And the other thing that it has going for it is it's got a lot of people like us, people like you. The community is very, very hungry for something and for whatever is next. And is one thing that I like about the way the community is they know what they want. We come into a lot of communities where they're just kind of like to throw one out there.
I guess.
Yeah, like we're kind of like Rogue Company, right? They're not quite sure what they want it to be. They know they want it to be something, but they're not quite sure what they want it to be.
Less of an identity.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a problem. They're figuring it out, but it seems like Pogo already kind of knows what they want it to be, and it's definitely challenging to work with and sometimes against in that instance, because like the things that we're trying to build might necessarily break the mold. Case in point, the pools into single elim is definitely different than the normal. But it's definitely refreshing to see a community that knows what they want, and because of that, I think it has the legs to go the distance to become a legit esport.
All right.
I want to add on to that.
Yeah.
And I know we announced the $1,000 tournament. That was one of the bigger events in the Pokemon Go space. And then on the backs of that, we saw Mazer come out and put out their $1,000 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then we piggybacked off that.
Still rolling.
Announced the third one. So hopefully, seeing orgs like Mazer, seeing orgs like Rebel, like Tempo Storm, like Antimatter, get involved in the space. Hopefully that's just a chain reaction. We keep seeing more and more orgs.
People are going to start paying attention more and wanting to be a part of it.
And I can't really go into details on this, but there is a potential sponsor that we have been discussing future events with. I'm not sure if it's going to be a one-off or not, but
it means something, the fact that you've got that going.
It's a traditional esports sponsor.
Oh, wow.
It's large in scale,
It's a name that once you hear, you'll be like, oh, crap, okay.
You can't not know it,
Okay.
Jake, I want to add one thing on the end of that, too, that I think Pokemon Go has specifically, and I would even hazard more so than any other community in esports, period. Mm-hmm. Esports, as a business, is the same thing that you would see with the NFL, right? I am not the genetic perfect specimen. I'm 5'7", and I'm 130 pounds, like sopping wet, right? I will never be a football player. I just won't. I will not be the super specimen to do that.
You're more likely to be
Pokemon games as a whole decrease that barrier of entry. There's nothing genetically required to do it, which is cool, because then, in theory, the entirety of the population could be something. The cool thing about Pokemon that other esports doesn't have is that it doesn't appear that every single person on Earth wants to be that top 0.1%. There are so many people in this space that are excited to be the 99% and support that person next to you. The guy who sits elbow to elbow with you at the table at the LAN. The guy who you met at PAX at the subway table because you had to sit 49 people to a table. Like, the immediate camaraderie is way cooler in this community than anything we've ever seen before. And in a community where you have those heroes, those 1%, your Dunebugs, your Lion's Den, your Panic. I mean, we've got the Rebel players, for instance.
Right.
There's a 99% of the rest of the community is actively excited to support them. And as a business looking to foray into this space, they often care more about that 99%. That's your viewership. That is your market that you're talking to. That 1% is going to succeed regardless of a business coming in, because they're already streaming, right? They're already doing something that's good for them. But the other 99% being interested in supporting people coming into the scene, that's a huge thing that we have not seen in other esports, and it's very forgiving and very kind.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely attest to having seen that myself. I did one of Caleb Pang's tournaments, and I actually had a bit of a back and forth with him. Like, I'm going to join in, but it's going to suck. He says, hey, just do your best. You're going to be okay. Just as long as you try, you're making progress. So that I'm a part of the Girls at PvP, and that is such a wonderful, welcoming community there as well. So yeah, there is this whole lot of support to see others succeed, and it really is refreshing to see that.
Definitely.
On the backs of that, it's also really cool that there's a lot of diversity in the Pokemon
Yes,
Go
there
community.
is.
With a lot of other esports titles, you run into a lot of straight, white, cisgendered males.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Pokemon Go, it's a very healthy balance of demographics, so it's been really refreshing to walk into.
Oh, yeah. And that's another one of the things that I absolutely enjoy about the community as well. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything you want to let listeners know before we wrap up and everything? Like where they can find the tournaments, any sign-up information?
Guess website. Drop the website probably.
Yeah, Steve, why don't you drop a hyperlink in here so I can read that off, make sure it's 100% accurate. But yes, what I do want to preface is that the Nexus League does have their own website now, and you will be able to enroll through that. You'll be able to find the link to the Facebook registration. It is a 2-step process. We think we streamlined it a lot. It is no longer a sloppy Google Doc. It is a beautiful coded website now, and that is going to be nexusleague.antimatter.gg. So that's where you're going to be able to go to find the Pokemon team submission, and you'll find all of the relevant links. You can even follow our socials. If you're struggling, there's a Discord link as well. You'll be able to find anything you need from us there. But I think in closing, I just want to thank on the behalf of Broken Arrow, behalf of Horror, and myself as Dragonite. We're just excited to see these folks in the Johto region.
Yep, indeed.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys joining me for this call. This was my first time doing an interview for the show, so this went incredibly well by my standards. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, guys.
Everyone.
So for this week, I thought I would talk about a new feature, a new way to battle that is being presented by Silph, and that is factions. You can always check out silph.gg. There is a new tab in their PvP references for the faction setup, so definitely check that out. And it looks elaborate, but it looks very, very, very interesting. All right, so here we go. Factions, or your team, they will compete in weekly bouts, so one bout a week against another faction. Each faction will consist of 8 members, 7 specialists, and 1 alternate. You don't have to have them be an alternate, or you don't have to have an alternate. As long as you have at least 7 team members, you're good. The season that you will fight in will consist of multiple cycles. A cycle being a period of bouts. Your team is split up into 4 field specialists, 1 Great League Specialist, 1 Ultra League Specialist, and 1 Master League Specialist. The 7 Field Specialists will compete on the battlefield, and I will get to more on that here in just a minute. The Great League Specialist has no restrictions, and they will compete, of course, in Great League, being CP of 1500 or less. The Ultra League Specialist will compete in the 2500 or less CP. The only restrictions are this. They are only allowed 1 mythical or legendary and 1 starter Pokemon, or starter evolution Pokemon. The Master League Specialist, of course, open-ended, no CP limit, and they are only allowed 1 mythical or legendary. That's the only restrictions there. These battles are best of 3 matches, rewarding 1 point on the win of your match. So the first person to win 2 fights in their match will get a point for their team. The first team to make it as far to 6 or 7 points will win the bout. And the bout week actually has a set pattern of how it works. On Monday, you're going to set your positions. Who's going to be a field specialist and who's going to play in the different ranked leagues. Then on Tuesday and Wednesday, you will set your rosters or your Pokemon teams. And then Thursday through Saturday, you will battle. You have the week to complete your bout. and register what points you have. The first cycle for North America is going to start May 2nd, so it will probably be starting by the time you hear this. And the battlefield meta for this cycle, and this is why I put this off to talk about, for this cycle is going to be the floating city. It is a Great League meta, meaning that it will be CP 1500 or less, and focuses on these types: ground, flying, steel, or normal. There are some bans in place: no mythicals, no shadow, no regionals, no Galarian Stunfisk, no Skarmory, no Altaria, no Bastiodon, no Chansey, no Registeel. So this is going to be really interesting to see what kind of teams they build. I know I'm going to be following along and trying to keep up with everything, and I may present some updates and news for you as I go. So we'll see what happens with this. I do like that we're seeing more of these team composition battles, and this one's definitely a different way to look at it. A lot of the team comps that I've seen have been 5 team member builds, so seeing a 8-person team build is definitely a unique look at it. And there's all kinds of ways this could go. As I was reading through the information, there may be multiple battlefields in place during a bout. So this could get crazy the further along we go. You may have 2 field specialists in one battlefield and 2 field specialists in another. Or you could even get crazy and put 3 battlefields metas into it. Who knows? This is wild. I do like this approach. I do like that this shakes things up a bit, and you do get the combination of a Silph Cup and Go Battle League just kind of merging a little bit here. So this will be really, really, really interesting. We'll see what happens. I will definitely keep you guys posted. I am going to keep up with this as much as I can because I have a couple of different friends playing in different factions. Bowling Bacon, if you know who she is, and of course DeFi, who is the PvP, or one half of the PvP team for GoCast podcast. So if you're interested in any of that information, definitely look up and see who is playing in what faction. I believe Caleb Peng is playing in one of the factions. Speediest Chief, who is one of the top ranked Silph players in the world, who actually won Silph Arena last year. A whole bunch of people are getting in on this. This will be really, really interesting to see what happens. And I do believe that they're going to be keeping up with it, at least on Twitter. I don't know if it's going to be broadcast on Twitch at any point, but it's looking really, really interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens. So definitely keep your eyes on it, and I'm definitely going to be keeping up with it here on my show, so if you're interested in that, just a heads up. All right. Now, to get to the main event, what you're probably actually here for, and that is Silph Commander Cup team building and rankings and whatnots. If you did not listen to last week's episode, here's a little recap on the Commander Cup. It is going to run from the beginning of May to the 31st, and it features a specific set of rules. You must pick a commander from a pre-selected group of 10 and then complete your roster with a set of 5 types. You are allowed dual typings. However, you are not allowed Steel, Mega, Legendary, Mythical, Shadow, Abomasnow, Garvantula, Galarian Stunfisk, Metacham, Wobbuffet, Pachirisu, or Drapion. And from that, you will build your team of 6, building around your commander. Eligible commanders are Munchlax, Shiftry, Escavalier, Steelix, Empoleon, Jellicent, Bronzong, Noctowl, Alolan Marowak, and Poliwrath. And let me tell you, those are some good selections for commanders. If you've seen the Silph ranking, the PvPoke rankings for these, it is crazy. The commanders are ranked 1 to 6. In the top 6 are Munchlax, Steelix, Excavalier, Jellicent, Empoleon, and Shiftry. The rest of them actually show up in other places, including Alolan, Marowak, and Bronzong, who fall a little bit down the pole. Noctowl as well falls down a little bit. Poliwrath falls down a little further. So it's really, really interesting. Your top ranked commander is Munchlax. He is a sturdy little dude, and if you build him right, he can perform very, very well. However, I am looking at building for the Pokebattler who may not have enough Stardust. Hopefully you've got enough, but in case you don't, Empoleon is always a good safe pick. Having had a community day for Piplup, he has access to Hydro Cannon, and you should definitely put it on him. Although you do have some options. And of course, as always, we're going to take a look at JRE Wolf's Nifty or Thrifty. He's got that set up for this cup. And I like to go based on it because it's definitely worth taking a look at. He likes Empoleon too, definitely with Hydro Cannon, and says that this is a great spot for it. It has a whole slew of resistances definitely worth looking at. 11 total: Steel, Poison, Ice, Water, Rock, Psychic, Normal, Flying, Fairy, Dragon, and Bug. The only weaknesses are Electric, Fighting, and Ground. So this is looking really, really good to begin with. He's going to take some serious wins against Munchlax, Hypno, A-Tails, A-Muck, and A-Whack. So you're getting some of the commanders showing up there. If you're not familiar with those Alolan names, it's Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Muck, and Alolan Marowak. The losses, however, Jellicent, Toxicroak, Escavalier, Shiftry, and Alolan Raichu. So be careful on those electric types. They will peek their faces in there. And Fighting and Ground, although they're not part of the meta too much, you should be okay. Waterfall, Hydro Cannon, and Drill Peck are preferred movesets. Plus the fact that it's the starter, you do get the discount for building it up. The 10,000 dust and 25 candy. So if you want a good budget Pokemon to start with as your commander, definitely check out Empoleon. Now, you can focus on building a Munchlax if you want. The second move is pretty cheap because you're getting the baby bonus on it. However, only consider it if you know you've got the dust to spare to build it up, because you'll have to take it up to level 30 to get what you want out of it. Lick, Body Slam, and Bulldoze is the recommended moveset, and it's going to take wins that are definitely impressive. Jellicent, Hypno, Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Marowak, and Alolan Muck. He definitely handles the ghost types. He's got the resistance going there. Unfortunately, a weakness to fighting types could cause some problems, although not too many. However, you need to be careful for the bugs in the grasses. Escavalier, Toxicroak, Shiftry, Venusaur, and Roserade are all key losses. So definitely be careful on that. But he's a sturdy little guy, and he can definitely take a beating. So if you've got the dust to spend, definitely consider it. Jellicent is on the very expensive side, but not to be underestimated. Hex, Bubble Beam, Shadow Ball is a recommended moveset. It's going to take wins on Hypno, Toxicroak, Escavalier, Alolan Ninetales, and Alolan Marowak. Now, you're seeing a lot of Alolan Ninetales show up. Definitely expect to see it pop up in the meta. I like it, especially for this cup. Set up Powder Snow, Weather Ball Ice, and Psyshock, and watch it go. Wins on Toxicroak, and of course any grass that happens to step in the way. Venusaur, Shiftry, Steelix, and Roserade. Losing only to Munchlax, Hypno, Jellicent, Alolan Muck, and Escavalier that are major losses anyway. But it's got some good resistances: Bug, Ice, Dark, and Dragon. Weaknesses to Fire, Steel, Poison, and Rock, but you're not going to see too much of Steel as it is banned, even in dual typing, I believe, so you won't have to worry about that too much, with the exception of Steelix. Now, while Alolan Ninetales is not a commander, there's probably a good reason that it's not. But it's definitely worth considering. JREC Wolf says it's even in the development notes of the cup that they kept side-eyeing Ninetales, Alolan Ninetales, and whether or not they should even consider whatever they were going to do with it. It has the power to be severely annoying in this cup, and it borders on possibly being OP for this cup. So if you have one built previously, and I've been preaching the amazingness of Alolan Ninetales for episodes and episodes now. So if you've listened to my advice and you've built one up since then, you've got something going for you going into this cup. Now, I've told you who I like as the commanders. Other than Ninetales, how are you wanting to build this up? Well, you can definitely look at a few different things. Now, these, of course, are the nifty thrifty choices, including Venusaur, which gets the starter bonus stuff, the 10,000 dust, 25 candy builds. It's a sturdy bud. It hits hard. It may not be one of the top ranked Pokemon in this meta, but it's definitely going to cause some problems for people. Vine Whip, Frenzy Plant, Sludge Bomb are your recommended movesets. It wins on Munchlax, Jellicent, Empoleon, Shiftry, and Roserade. Sometimes it'll even, I believe it gets the mirror match as well sometimes. Depending. I don't see it listed here. I thought that was one of the ones. There's a few of these he's listed that if you moveset them right, you'll win a mirror match with them. But you definitely want to check it out. This article is posted to Reddit, but it is also posted usually to Silph Arena resources for the Commander Cup, so I will definitely make a link to that in the description if you're interested. Key losses for Venusaur, however: Hypno, Toxicroak, Escavalier, Alolan Muck, and Alolan Ninetales. Poison and Ice are a bit of a problem, despite the fact that it is a poison type. It's got resistance to Grass, Water, Fighting, Fairy, and Electric. Weaknesses are Fire, Flying, Ice, and Psychic. With Psychic being one of the main types, definitely keep an eye out on that one if you're wanting to build a Venusaur. He does go to make notes about Raichu and Alolan Raichu. However, while they are good, I don't really know about them myself, but you can build them up and take a shot with them if you'd like. I'm not going to stop you, and it may work out for you in the best. For me, honestly, going with a Raichu is a tail flip. If I had to pick one, I would go Alolan Raichu, and I definitely like putting Grass Knot and Wild Charge, although he makes a good case for Thunder Punch over Grass Knot. So you could see your wins switch up there a little bit. Now, one pick that looks really, really interesting, it could cost you a little bit on the Stardust side, is definitely going to be Alolan Muck. Recommended with a Snarl, Dark Pulse, Sludge Wave moveset, he actually comes in pretty decently on the meta listing, ranked number 13. And he's going to take wins on Jellicent, Hypno, Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Marowak, and Shiftry. So he's getting some of the commanders there. So that's definitely worth keeping in mind. You're going to want to counter those. However, it's going to lose on Munchlax, Escavalier, Toxicroak, Empoleon, and Steelix. So this is another reason why I say definitely want to consider Empoleon. It's got weakness to ground with resistances to Psychic, Poison, Grass, Ghost, and Dark. So that's a good thing because you're going to see Psychics all over this meta. You want something that's going to stand up to that. What Seawolf has to say about Alolan Muck is that it is one of the top anti-psychics in the list and typically handles grasses and ghosts very well. And it is definitely a very good choice if you want a safe swap going into a match. He also makes a note that since most of the Charmers fighters and more potent grounds have been removed from the meta, Amok is going to do some heavy hitting. So definitely worth considering putting on your team. You also want to consider taking a look at Hypno. Again, a little bit expensive, but Psychic is going to be one of the heavily used typings in this meta. So you might want to have one yourself, because if you are not building for Psychic, you need to build against it. But building for it, Hypno with Confusion, Fire Punch, and Shadow Ball is recommended. Taking wins on Toxicroak, Escavalier, Alolan Ninetales, again showing up, Alolan Marowak, and Roserade, who I think is going to be causing at least something of a problem, if not a big one. Key losses, however, Munchlax, Jellicent, Alolan Muck, Shiftry, and Empoleon. That, like we were just talking, Alolan Muck will take it out, but definitely worth keeping if you want to have some good leverage against something like Alolan Ninetales. It's got weaknesses to Bug, Dark, and Ghost, with resistances to Psychic and Fighting. The mirror match is going to be hard, but it could be to your advantage to have a good Hypno on your bench anyway. What's interesting about the Nifty or Thrifty article is that JRE Seawolf says that instead of Shadow Ball, you might want to try Focus Blast, because it's going to give you a different set of wins. It'll take out Dugong and Steelix, which could possibly show up. He suggests to pair it with Shadow Ball and any Elemental Punch, and it could give you a very good, nice edge to get some of these wins that might be a little bit harder to deal with. He also makes a case for Future Sight over Confusion, so it's interesting as well. Alright, that's a whole lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of other notable Pokemon, and like I said, when I do these, I'm thinking about the budget-conscious battler. There are some cases to be made for some of the more expensive Pokemon. Gengar Haunter, if you want a good ghost, is going to do very, very well here. Even better than Frostlass, which has been shining in some of the previous metas. And of course, in the more expensive end, there is a place for Barbaracle here, possibly Dragalge. Although I'd say more Barbaracle than Dragalge. But be careful if you're going in that direction. He makes a case for Sudowoodo and Rhyperior, but for the most part, not too shabby. He also points out that Galarian Rapidash will be used during Commander Cup, especially since Galarian Ponyta is going to show up in research boxes this next month, so you have a good opportunity to get your hands on a very good PvP one throughout May, especially if you're doing a lot of those one-off tournaments. Definitely look forward to either using it or seeing it show up. And then, of course, just because I wanted to point out some of the ones that he pulls up for the expensive side of all of this, the 75,000 Dust 75 Candy. If you are rolling in Dust and Candy, then you can kind of consider these. But otherwise, I'd kind of stay away from them. Gallade running Confusion, Leaf Blade, and Close Combat. It is going to pack a wallop. While you might be tempted to run Charm, he says don't do it. Run Alolan Ninetales instead and just let Gallade be a Confusion user and cause chaos that way. Lapras, of course, tends to show up. It is a good favorite. Ice Shard or Water Gun, running Surf and Ice Beam or Skull Bash as your charge moves. But again, Lapras is so hard to build, and finding a good PvP one can be difficult, so I'll only do it if you've already got one built. Electivire after Community Day with Thundershock, Ice Punch, and Wild Charge. Interesting that you're not running your Community Day move here, but Wild Charge will give you that stab bonus, so that's probably why he's suggesting that. He says, it is a type that will just run over a lot of things, so if you've got the dust to build one and you've got a good PvP one from Comday, definitely worth considering. And then he ends it up with Ampharos as another electric possibility. And that is a look at possible team building for the Commander Cup meta. And of course, we're going to take a Pokemon of the week from the Commander Cup meta once I get into the back end of the show. I'm going to take a break for a minute. I need to breathe. This has been a lot of show going on here. Okay, give me a few minutes to get some water and I will get right back to you. Alrighty, we're back again for another episode of shameless self-promotion. Just trying to keep things going, I guess. If you are interested in following this podcast on any form of social media, you can find me on Twitter at Anthissa21, as well as Instagram, same handle, And you can always email the show with any questions, comments, anything you want to see, and constructive criticism, of course. anerdblog@gmail.com. And I try my best to keep the episode posted on YouTube if you're interested in following there. It is Pegasus Podcasting Gaming. Go ahead, give it a like, and do all the usual YouTuber follow-along nonsense if you're interested. You can always find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as a few other choice places as well. And if you're interested in supporting the show, you can always make a small donation to my Ko-fi page. I've got that set up, ko-fi.com/Anthissa21. It is the homepage for both the Battle Academy podcast and my other show, Hopelessly Nerdy. So if you're interested there, or if you'd like to do something not so monetary as well, or you can't afford monetary donation, you can always give a 5-star review or any kind of review on whatever podcast service you're listening to, with the exception, of course, being Spotify. Hopefully they'll eventually listen and get that set up. And just the fact that you're listening to the show, I truly, truly appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being here as it is. And this, of course, is based on what their current wins are. I wanted to do a Xerneas Raid guide really quick before we go into a little bit of talk about our Pokemon of the Week, although that will be very, very brief. You know what? Let's do Pokemon of the Week really quick because it'll be really brief. It's a Pokemon I already brought up. Yes, it's a little bit on the expensive side, Stardust-wise, and that is Alolan Muck. Just something about it. I couldn't quit looking at it. I couldn't try to keep going past it. Running Snarl, Dark Pulse, and Sludge Wave as recommended moveset. Takes wins again, and of course this is a reiteration, Jellicent, Hypno, Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Marowak, and Shiftry, with losses against Munchlax, Escavalier, Toxicroak, Empoleon, and Steelix. Resistances to Psychic, Poison, Grass, Ghost, and Dark means it is going to be able to handle the majority of the meta extremely well. If you're wanting to build one up, you're going to look for a rank 1 level 20.5 at 0-15-15. And JREC Wolf was asked in his Reddit article if an argument could be made for Grimer XL, and he says it'd just be a waste of dust trying to build it up, so you definitely want to go for the Muck instead. I'm trying to build one. Unfortunately, I'm having a hard time because all of my Grimers bust 1500. But there you go. Your Pokemon of the Week is Alolan Muck. Definitely consider that as you move forward. Now, let's talk about the Xerneas Raid Guide. Why? Because Luminous Legends X is coming up in just a matter of days, and I want you guys to have this information. I want you all to have this information. Xerneas, this is by PokemonGoHub.net. Xerneas is a Tier 5 legendary raid boss in Pokemon Go and the first fairy-type legendary Pokemon in the game. And it is a mono fairy typing, boosted by cloudy weather, and counters include strong steel and poison-type Pokemon, such as Metagross, Dialga, Roserade, and Mega Evolutions like Mega Gengar and Beedrill. Do not take dragons, because they will fall fast. Just a heads up. It is supposed to be the most powerful fairy type in the meta, but is it so? This guide should hopefully make it easier for you. Weak to steel and poison, strong against dark dragon and fighting. The CPs you're looking for are 1070 to 2130 at level 20, no weather boost, 2591 to 2703 at level 25 with cloudy weather boost. I believe 2130 and 2703 are going to be your hundo numbers if you're a hundo hunter. Counters, the supreme raid counters, this is their words. Mega Gengar running Lick and Sludge Bomb. Metagross running Bullet Punch and Meteor Mash. Next up, Mega Beedrill running Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb. Dialga running Metal Claw, Iron Head, Genesect, Metal Claw, Magnet Bomb. Roserade running Double Poison, Poison Jab, and Sludge Bomb. Excadrill running Double Steel. Gengar running Lick, Sludge Bomb. Jirachi running Charge Beam and Doom Desire. Mega Venusaur could be a very good idea, as well as Mega Charizard Y, because you don't get the dragon typing on Y that you do on X, so don't take X, take Y. Fire Spin and Blast Burn. Heatran with Fire Spin and Iron Head, and Ho-Oh with Steel Wing and Brave Bird. Movesets you're going to get on Xerneas, Tackle, and Zen Headbutt for fast moves. Charge moves, Moonblast, Mega Horn, Close Combat, Thunder, and Giga Impact. While it looks good, these are not great fast moves, unfortunately. But definitely worth taking, as this is a new Pokemon and a new legendary to boot. It is going to be in raids for 2 weeks, and it is going to be awesome. So definitely get your people together and cash in on those remote raids and get you a very good Xerneas. This will be awesome. I definitely planned to do a couple of Xerneas raids. Hopefully I can catch one. That's all I'm hoping for. At least one. Give me at least one. All right. That's going to do it for this episode. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. Good luck on your Commander Cup team building, and good luck on your Xerneas raids. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for the support. It means a whole bunch you will never know. I hope you have a wonderful time of day it is, wherever you're at. I'll see you all next week.